for you today. I'm always going to try to bring to you information that is necessary, information that you need to know. And what better information than to know about the people who are you're entrusting your heart, your soul, your lives, that of your family into to help make decisions for us. And with that in mind, we are welcoming Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz to the show today.
Well, thank you so
Welcome.
very much. I'm so very happy to be
You
here.
are welcome. Now, I gotta put this little plug in here. I met Dr. Shabazz, I'm gonna say maybe about 3 years ago. She's a neighbor of my sister, but I have known her sister Charlotte, I shouldn't say how long. I'm not going to say how long because we went to school at North Texas. I went to TWU. She went to North Texas State, but I was the first Miss Kappa Alpha Psi at North Texas State, and she was the second one. So that's how I met. That's how I met Charlotte. So
who knew, right?
So that's how I met her. But and I've known Kathy that long. My sister went to school with Kathy, so I know your whole family almost.
Oh, I see.
Yes. But we wanted to bring Dr. Carolyn in today because she is the incumbent for Houston City Council District D.
Yes.
And Dr. Carolyn kind
where
of
I live,
where Rebecca lives
in District D.
Yes.
I do too.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit because there's something very unique about you. But can you kind of tell us first, in case people are not sure, what areas and communities encompass District D?
Okay, I'm
Yes.
just going to kind of generally speak.
Yeah.
And thank you again for having
You're welcome.
me. And I'm going to start with Sagemont,
Okay.
South Park, Sunnyside, South Acres, South Union, Third Ward,
Okay.
Midtown Medical Center. Did I say Sunnyside?
That's a big
Yes.
district. Yeah.
Oh,
That's a big district. That
definitely,
is.
most
Yes.
definitely, and South Union.
Okay.
And so it's very big, about 200,000 plus
Constituents.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. Well, now with that in mind, I want to ask you something, and this is something that I know of just in talking and knowing Charlotte. Okay. And that is that you grew up in your district.
I absolutely did. Yes.
Tell me what it was like kind of growing up and really watching that district change. It's changed a lot over
It
the
has
years.
absolutely changed a
What
lot.
was that like?
I was raised in Third Ward, Texas, and certainly it was, just like any other community, actually, because you don't know the difference
Exactly.
until you get a little older. But certainly, I went to the public schools in Houston.
Okay.
And I also went, in particular, I went to Jack Yates High School.
You know, Jack Yates people are always represented.
Historic Jack Yates.
You know that red. You got me, right? You got me.
Historic Jack Yates. Yes.
And then I graduated from Jack Yates and I went to Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
which coincidentally is the #1 HBCU. And then I came back home and I went to the Texas Southern University, got a master's and a doctorate at Texas Southern University.
Okay.
And I'm really kind of unique because I actually went to TSU Nursery School.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
So a terminal degree at Texas Southern with a
Full
doctorate.
circle.
Yeah.
Full
absolutely.
circle. TSU.
And I lived
Yes.
just a couple of blocks from
Yes.
TSU, as you know. And so TSU was kind of like our playground.
Exactly.
We would go over there and go swimming and run around the track.
And you could hear the band practicing all the time.
Oh God! The other night, I didn't think they were ever going to stop because
Yes.
homecoming was
That's right.
was coming.
That's right.
And they were jamming. Okay, I mean they were. You can. And the thing is, where I live, where we live, really with Kim,
Yeah.
you can hear the music bouncing off of the school
And
across the street. And it
Yes.
almost feels like they
It's
are
coming
over
from
across the street.
Yes. I
playing.
thought it was just me. I thought it was just me.
No.
Yes.
And so that has been something that we have enjoyed, actually. It's never been a nuisance to me. I always wonder about the students. What time are y'all going to stop playing?
Yes,
so that you
for
could
students.
go home and study and,
Yeah.
and
for
go
the
to
ones
cl-
that are
and get ready for class,
Yeah,
you know?
the ones
But
in
other
the
than
dorm.
that, it was always something that we enjoyed in the neighborhood.
Yes, always exciting because being around Texas Southern or being around a university at all, especially when you are a kid or in high school and middle school. That's exciting because the big kids are always there. But let me ask you this. Tell me a little bit about your family. You have a reputation of being a catalyst for change.
Yeah.
So that didn't come out of nowhere. So tell me where that came from. Tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, actually, my dad was a basketball coach at Jack Yates High School for many years. But before that, my grandfather was the first president of Prairie View A&M University.
Oh, right. Where we produce productive people.
Absolutely.
Where we produce productive
absolutely.
people.
I knew that was coming.
So that was the best slang and slogan they could have ever come up with.
That's true.
And whenever people tell me that, I say, "Oh, you."
That's true.
Yeah. And my mother was a first grade teacher.
Okay.
And so, you being an educator, really, I mean, you're a public servant.
Oh gosh!
For all that you do for your students,
absolutely,
in and out of the classroom.
Wait a minute, was Principal Evans your grandfather?
Well, he was the president.
Now,
actually, he was also the first African American veterinarian in the state of Texas. And then, now I don't know how they transitioned that, but he went from president to principal.
Yeah.
And then to president, the first president.
So Evans Hall was named after him?
After my grandmother.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Well, wait a minute. And then you went back to TSU?
Well, gas.
That's true.
I could walk.
Yes, that's true.
Home.
That's true.
I could do my papers at my class would be at 5, and I could print them out at 4:45. Ink would
and
still
be there.
Wet,
that's
and
right.
get to class on time. So that
right.
made a tremendous difference.
That is so interesting.
So basically, you had pretty large shoes to fill. Your family members had pretty large shoes to fill.
I always say that.
Yeah.
They did have a reputation and a legacy, but I didn't depend on it to the point that I didn't feel like I needed to do my own service and create my own path.
Exactly.
And I have a lot of things that I can say that I'm like my mother with this, I'm like my father with that. But I think that between the two of them, I developed compassion for people and being able to communicate and work with all walks of life.
Right.
I don't care how old you are or how seasoned you are. I have a great deal of respect for people, period. And I love people. And I believe, that spirit came from them. And so, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be a blessing.
Absolutely. Now, when did you decide? So you're in by craft and vocation, you're an educator.
I am.
Yes. And when did you decide really and kind of look around and see some of the things, not just in your district, but in Houston, that needed some change? And you said, you know what? The time is now.
Well, I'm actually a retired educator.
Yes.
I was a diagnostician. I test special ed children, which also you have to have a lot patience.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. Yes.
I helped a lot of young people graduate.
Wow.
And then when I retired, I always say I didn't have sense enough to go sit down.
Yes.
And I became more active in the community. And I commend you because a lot of times when you are teaching, you kind of stay in your own little bubble and you don't really go out, and do things. So you're taking advantage of a wonderful opportunity to just kind of expand while you are teaching. I always tell young people, if I was as politically aware now as I was then, or as you are, I probably could have been the first female vice president of the United States. So young people have no ceiling.
That's right.
And they can certainly achieve that which they want to achieve. But again, I became very active with the NAACP.
Okay.
And I was on the executive committee and I was the chairman of the education committee. I mean, go figure, right?
Yeah.
And so consequently, I spent a lot of time trying to bring equity to the school district.
Okay.
And of course, I would travel to surrounding districts, but mostly the engagement was with the Houston Independent School District.
Where we work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, was that in
That's a whole nother
was that
show.
We gonna touch on it a
If
bit.
this one always wants to go there. I have to reel her in sometimes, but
sure.
that's okay. But you said something very interesting. In your capacity with the NAACP, in that capacity, you got a chance to kind of travel and see what else was out there and how other people were doing things.
I absolutely did.
Yeah.
And, the biggest thing that I stood with my community
Mhm.
was school closures.
Wow.
And it became quite commonplace that they were closing the schools in the minority neighborhood.
That's what I was going to say.
And so I developed a lot of relationships with a lot of people who were out
Mhm.
there being active as well. I remember, I think one of the last engagements I had and in that capacity was trying to keep Jones High School as a comprehensive high school,
Right.
which,
Yes.
we didn't get a lot of, I'll say, success,
Right.
but we did speak our minds and let people know that we thought that those things that they were doing in our community were totally unacceptable.
Right.
And so, if nothing else, we came together as a community and we were able to at least voice our concerns with those that were the powers that be, so to speak.
Exactly. Now, when you've had a chance to witness, you've had a lot of engagement and experience in witnessing what's going on in the school districts. And this is just a question that I'm asking because I would like to know the answer to. When they close schools like that, do they have a really good sound plan in mind as to where those students are going to go?
Because it don't seem like it just seems
and
like
if the students
pulling some stuff out,
is it always a financial thing?
That's what they say.
Yeah.
But I look at the impact that closing a school has on the community.
Absolutely.
One of my first fights was actually about the school across the street from where I live.
Yes.
Turner Lockhart is what I call it.
Yes.
Certainly, I did attend Turner Elementary.
Wow.
And it became a time when they started switching the buildings. They put all of the students over at Lockhart, and then they put all of the students back at Turner.
Wow.
So something was brewing.
Then they decided that they were going to move all of the students back to Lockhart. They were going to tear down Turner, and then they were going to rebuild Turner, and they were going to bring all of the students back.
And it was going to be called Turner.
It was going to be called Turner.
It sure was. I remember that.
And certainly maybe even Turner Lockhart.
Yes.
But when it got back to its actual location, which originally was the Turner location, there was some pushback that made the name turn out to be Lockhart.
Right.
That really sticks here because I'm going to tell you, Mr. Turner was actually an educator. Reverend Turner actually was an educator. He actually was one of the founders of Pilgrim Church, which is right there on Blodgett.
Right.
Well, if you know anything about the administration at Turner, there was a wonderful, phenomenal principal named Ruby L. Thompson.
Yes.
Mrs. Ruby L. Thompson encouraged all of her teachers, and I think all of the teachers that I recall went into administration.
Right.
And so when they came to her to tell her that they wanted, because the school was kind of overflowing with kids, she wanted to, they wanted to move the kids to where Lockhart is located, which was actually a Jewish community center.
Yes.
And so then she was adamantly opposed to that.
Wow.
And so to appease her, they named the school after her dad.
Okay.
So the Ruby L, the L is for Lockhart.
Right.
And so, of course, the division of the community was like straight up Burkett.
Right.
Where you could play with kids in the evening, but the ones on the east side went to Lockhart.
Yes.
And those on the west side went to Turner.
Turner.
And they were very competitive. And I mean, I always tell people that I was so blessed to come up during those times.
Yeah.
Because the teachers were excellent.
And they stayed at schools.
They stayed at the schools. And then kind of ironically, my own aunt, my mother's sister, was my third grade teacher. And so, which was really always funny because her name was Miss Klein, right?
Yes.
But I mean, at home, she was Aunt Orlean.
Right. I taught my niece too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I would wait I wouldn't call her name at all because I couldn't grasp calling her Klein, right? And when the bell would ring, Aunt Orlean, Aunt Orlean, then I could have a conversation.
Yes.
But she showed no favoritism.
Of course she did.
When she whipped one, she whipped us all. She'd go down the row.
That's right.
And pop us all on the leg, right? But I mean, phenomenal teachers. And people say, do you remember your teachers? I say, I remember each and every one of them.
Yes.
And then I went on to Miller Junior High School, which is now the Young Women's College Prep.
Okay, that was a junior high school?
That was a junior high school.
That was a big school for a junior high school.
That was 7th, 8th, and 9th when they had education the way it should be.
Exactly.
You know, 1 through 6 should be elementary.
That's right.
And I still think it should be 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yes.
Because I think they throw the 6th graders into an environment too early.
Right.
And then they certainly throw the 9th graders into an environment
they do.
too early.
They do.
And so then for some strange reason, I guess because my dad worked at Yates, my parents didn't want me to go to Yates. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been waiting to put on that cheerleading uniform.
Yes.
Oh, come on now.
Yes.
So initially, they sent me to Mount Carmel High School, which is a Catholic school, which was right off of McCowan and Belfast.
Right. Now
I went to St. Agnes.
Oh,
I know.
my God. I was just devastated.
Yeah.
I mean, they had this seal in the floor.
That's right.
And they would tell you not to walk on it. Because that was just disrespectful. I walked on it every day because I wanted whoever to feel like they needed to put me out so I could go
back to Yates. Yeah.
And then eventually I did. That January, they heard my cries.
Yes.
I had some older friends in the neighborhood who actually went to Mount Carmel, but they were like 2 grades ahead. I said, they're getting ready to graduate. I don't want to be there. Even though I had, developed some really good friendships, but I was trying to get to JY. I mean, JY for life. And so I got to Yates, and immediately the cheerleader sponsor let me wear my older cousin's cheerleader uniform. Her name was Pat. So I had this cheerleader sweater that had Pat on the front, right? Until I could order my own sweater.
Right.
But I was in heaven at Jack Yates.
So what you're saying is that where a lot of people probably would have, and I remember, around this time, you got a lot of people rallying. That's when people were rallying to get out of the hood. A lot of people wanted to get out of the hood.
Oh yeah.
But you people
like,
were.
You gotta be kidding. I've been going to public school all my life.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to put me over there?
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. Yeah. I had a ball.
You sound like my sister Kim. Yes,
I had a ball. I mean, I love the community. I've always loved the neighborhood, the community. My older brother went to Yates. And in fact, the funny thing, we always joke, all of us graduated from Yates with the exception of Kathy. She
went to Lamar, didn't she?
But I still think that the feeling that you have for Jack Yates cannot be, you can't compare with some of the other
It's
schools.
An icon. Yes.
It's very different.
Yes.
And I'm not saying, maybe Wheatley and Worthing and those schools feel the same.
That's right.
That's right. Yes. And I guess what I'm saying is to graduate from a Black high school.
Yes.
Is what I'm saying.
That's right.
People that went to Worthing love Worthing. I actually worked at Worthing for over 10 years. I was a diag over there. I worked at Carnegie, Attucks, and schools in the Sunnyside area. So I became very familiar with the people that lived there.
Yeah.
And I just love people. That's all it is. But I felt more comfortable being in an environment with my own people.
Right.
And that's very rare for people to say, because most of the time.
Really?
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many people say no.
They don't want to be around the people, Rebecca.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, you want to hear a real story. Of course, I'm fair skinned, right? And so I always tell, I always had to fight. Because people felt because you were light skinned, you weren't Black enough. Right. Until they would get in a conversation with me and they like, this is like a sister.
Yeah.
I tell them I'm off the 3rd ward. I'm out of 3rd ward. Jack Yates High School patio.
Yes.
So don't let the smooth taste fool you, right? But anyway, I love the community and just being able to just navigate around those spaces was just heaven for me.
Well, as a career educator, do you think it's important? And this is this is a slippery slope. And I'm saying that because I sit in this seat myself as a teacher in a public school.
We both do.
We can't, but I started out, and I'm not going to say I started out, but I've also had the charter school experience.
We both
So,
do.
yeah, we both have.
Mhm.
Do you think, as a career educator, that it's important for communities to support public schools?
I absolutely support
Yeah.
public schools. And I'm going to tell you, I had an experience working in a charter school as a diagnostician.
Right.
Some of those schools I wouldn't consider sending one of my pets
Wow.
to, because it just was out of order. I mean, the disciplinary
Right.
measures.
Yes.
And
yes.
I just did. I mean,
yes.
not to say that there are no good charter schools. I think
Right.
they've come a long way,
Right.
and some of them are great. So I
Right.
don't want to say, because I feel that if you're providing a good education,
right.
then I'm behind you.
Right.
But for the most part, I believe we're using public dollars, and
Right.
I believe that we need to undergird our public schools.
Yes.
And then the traditions that you have in some of these public schools
Right.
cannot be duplicated.
They can't.
And so
Yeah.
I really, really push for public education. And of course, being the education chair of the NAACP,
Right.
I engage with the board a lot regarding public schools and providing public education. But I am so education oriented.
Right.
And I'm going to say this, before we move forward.
Uh-huh.
Some people, I was the first African-American female chairman of the board at the Houston Community College.
Okay.
I was appointed in 2015 and I think I was the secretary,
Okay.
and then moved on up vice president. And then I became the board chair.
Right.
And I became so indoctrinated to the value of trades.
Okay. Yes.
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 Because,
yes.
when I was coming
yes.
through Jack Yates, we had like a vocational role,
Yes.
where we had
Most
cleaning
schools
and
did.
pressing.
Yes.
We had
cosmetology.
Cosmetology.
Yes.
We had print shop.
That's right.
We had auto mechanics.
Wood shop. Yes.
Wood shop. We had sewing,
Yeah.
all of this. We had all of those things.
That's right.
And so at one point, then they decided to take those out of the school.
They
really,
sure
really
did.
disturbed
I remember when that
But
happened.
I kind of wondered, I mean,
Yeah.
we were very successful coming out of high school where you didn't necessarily have to go and get a college degree.
And you could be
you know,
successful. You
were
could have a
successful.
career.
So I'm wondering, was that calculated?
Well,
it
but
was somebody that's of very high importance that made a comment that kind of just got my gears twisted.
what was that, Rebecca?
And the comment was, "I'm so tired of graduating welders and hairdressers."
You better stop, because let me
Okay.
tell you something. let me just handle it.
Wow.
First and foremost,
Wow.
that is such a ridiculous
That is.
comment. I mean, I got all of this degree stuff, and of course, I needed it to be able to move up the educational arena.
right.
But basically, you can graduate from college with all of that, and you don't have a job.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
plus
right.
I have
you
a
can't-
job, or the
Plus,
money
you
is
can't
not
demand the
sufficient.
salary
That's right.
Exactly.
that you can demand with these trades.
That's right.
People that go into trades, they can basically decide what they're gonna make.
And
They
open their
become
own businesses.
entrepreneurs.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely, they can own their own businesses.
Yes.
Because I'm gonna tell you what, I had to take my car to the shop today. I can't fix my
Yes.
car.
That's right.
Right.
Okay,
That's right.
If this air goes out in here, I'm gonna
That's
be out the
right.
door.
That's
Because
right.
there's nothing I can do.
That's right.
Except maybe try to adjust the thermostat.
Right.
Yeah.
But other than that, and it just became very, very disturbing to me, those kind of comments. And I'm going to say this, whenever I get the opportunity to speak,
Yeah.
especially to parents, I tell them and I beg them and I ask them, never tell your child he's not college material. That is so defeating
That's true.
to them from the very onset, because you're telling them they're not good enough
Right.
from the very beginning.
Yes.
Please don't tell your children that.
That's right.
To me, college is anything past high school that helps you to get gainful employment, be it a
Right.
trade with credentials
Yes.
or be it a
Military.
degree.
Or the military.
Yeah, but don't tell them
yes.
they're not college material.
But-
and a lot of people said they heard that.
But ladies, let me say this to you, and I'm gonna say this because I have a personal experience with that. I'm in a large a large ISD here in the Houston area, and I taught at that school, loved that school. We had been in a position where we were on the verge of being reconstituted. In that 1 year, the principal moved that school completely up to where it was a B-rated school. However, it was already on the chopping block to be reconstituted. So all of us had to go in and interview for our jobs again. Okay, so we all know that routine, how that goes.
Yeah.
So when I went in to interview for my job, they asked me this: do you believe that all students should be college bound? I said, absolutely not. And I said that because I started out in a life skills classroom.
Wow.
I knew that some of my students that I had to carry, and I had to change them. I knew many of those students were not going to be college bound, but it was my charge as a teacher to get that student to where they were operating at the very pinnacle of their ability.
Absolutely.
That was my charge.
Absolutely.
So when I said that, and at that point, this particular district was a college bound culture.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put students in a box like that, you really are hindering them. I know that every student won't be college bound, but that doesn't mean that they should not be able to be pushed and catapulted to their absolute level of success, whatever that might be.
On the flip side of that, you have children who are college bound material but have no desire to go to college.
They want entrepreneurship.
Yeah, they want entrepreneurship. They want to be their own boss. One of the girls that's in my class right now, smart, straight A student. The girl is brilliant. And you know what she told me? She wants to open up her own beauty salon and nail salon one day.
And thank you. Look how beautiful your nails are, right? Okay.
Don't look at mine.
I think that we lost a generation.
Yeah.
Because when I graduated, a lot of the guys went to Hughes Tools and some of these big companies. And I mean, they made bank.
That's right.
Okay, so now they're sitting on big fat retirements.
Yeah, and pension.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That absolutely keeps them in a good lifestyle, right? But sometimes pushing people into an environment that they don't really want.
That's right.
Or they may just like being an auto mechanic.
Right.
Or they just want to be a beautician. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely
but
nothing.
Because we pushed everybody to college,
right,
they lost the desire. Some of them lost the desire to do anything.
That's right.
And that's what we're recovering from now. Trying to recover from now, because I value people. I value what they bring to the table. And I do know that you do better in vocations that you love.
It's like
that you don't have a problem getting up in the middle of in the morning to get to work.
And
I mean, that's like me. I love what I do now.
Right. Yes. And that's why that was another thing for me. Not only I've known people that I went to Prairie View with that are in vocations now. These people have bachelor's and sometimes master's degrees.
Yes.
And they
elected to do something. That's right.
They own mechanic shops.
Well, I'm a licensed real estate broker.
Yeah.
I went back and got that at the Houston Community College.
Yeah.
Because I think in these times we have to be more than prepared.
Yeah.
Right.
I got this, I just say, I'm glad I got the degree and all of that.
Yeah.
But I see the value. And also, you don't have all those student loans.
Right.
Yeah.
When you go
and
do
a whole bunch of debt.
And then if you want to do that, you can get the trade, make the money, and then go back to school and pay for your education, as opposed to waiting on Joe Biden to.
That's right. That's right.
To forgive you, to take away our student loans,
waiting with bated breath. I want to recognize some of the people who have tuned in. Hey, Kim. Hey, Charlotte. Charlotte says, hey, Kathy. And Paulette says, yes, Paulette.
My sisters.
Yes. Paulette says, President Evans was my president at Prairie View. 1960 to 1964.
Wow.
He held Prairie View to high standards and was a great leader and student advocate.
And I'm trying to be that way too.
And we have got Isaac Agaya. Isaac, hey, Isaac. Isaac says, council member from the District of Destination.
That's it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And Kathy says, I'm very proud of my sister.
Aww.
Yes. And then they're talking to each other.
Absolutely.
And Yumika says, blessings, ladies.
Thank you.
Now, we're on the education thing. I've got to revert back to this, because this is something that I really wanted to ask you. What do you think it's going to, well, we all know exactly where the largest district in Houston, in Texas, the position that they're in right now, and it didn't happen overnight. Okay. With this in mind, it doesn't matter where it is right now, but with this in mind, what are the steps that you think that we could take to avoid ending up in that situation again once this has run its course?
I think it sounds very cliche.
Yeah.
Because people just really haven't grasped. We have to start voting.
Yes.
In different leadership.
Absolutely.
Because all of this came from
up at the top.
The governor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All of it came from the top.
Yes.
He, of course, is the person that appointed Mike Morath.
Yes.
And then there's a big push for vouchers.
Of course.
Yes.
And so this is how you start destroying
public education.
Right. And so when you start doing all of these different measures to destroy, then your mission is accomplished.
Right.
But I've had conversations with teachers.
Right.
I am so thankful that I am not teaching
in the classroom
anymore
at
the Houston Independent School District. Now, I
wasn't gonna call the name.
Oh, well, I can. I'm retired. They give me a check.
That's right. Y'all heard how she said it. She retired.
I'm retired. They send me a check not to come to work. Right. And so, my sister Kathy works in Galena Park. Right. I don't hear any
complaints
of the complaints.
Wow.
No complaints.
That's nice. That's nice.
And so the deal is, I think this is all by design. You are trying to destroy the biggest public institution.
And here's what I've said, and I've been preaching it, and of course you know this. This is punishment. This is the governor punishing. I'm sorry. The crystal, it just came out. It's punishing because there is no Republicans that are sitting in office from the mayor down to the commissioner's court. So, and this city is 97% Democrat.
Right.
So what can I do in order to infiltrate that? Well, I can't infiltrate the city council. That's locked up.
Right.
I can't infiltrate the courts because that's a done deal. So what do I have power and control of? The school board.
You're so on point. I mean, Harris County is blue.
Yeah.
And so we want to destroy the blue.
Right.
But what is your thought when it comes to you destroying the blue children?
Right.
So when do we decide that it's not about politics, it's about people?
Well, you have to care about people.
Absolutely.
So when you don't care about people, the only thing you care about is politics, because politics gives you power.
Okay. I want Councilmember Shabazz to explain this to me, because I know a lot of people asked me this prior to the show. Can you explain what that voucher system actually is? What does that mean?
They give you a voucher for a certain amount,
right?
Across the board.
Exactly.
And then you use it to choose the school that you want to go to.
So
but the problem is this. Some of these schools cost more
exactly
than these vouchers.
That's my point.
Which certainly means that those that don't really need them can use them and just supplement themselves, and then they pay the rest.
Right.
Those that do need them, if they don't get scholarships or they don't have any way to pay the difference, then they're not going to go to the best schools that are available.
And so that means, and that was my point. Because let's say that the voucher is worth $10,000, but the school is $21,000 to attend.
Absolutely.
So that voucher is worthless to 80% of the people over in Denver Harbor.
Because they're going to have to take that $10,000 voucher and find a school that will accept that $10,000 voucher.
Which
Whereas
is none.
those who probably have their kids already in
Right.
private school
Right.
Mhm.
and already paying the 21K,
That's right.
Right.
they're okay with it. So, but it's like, oh, this is, money I can add to my, my bank account and not have to pay, I can now pay the 11,000 and not the
Right.
21.
Right.
But either way, they can still access the best schools.
Right.
Okay.
And so that's a problem. That's why public education needs to be equitable. It needs to be undergirded and
Yeah.
made to be the best educational institutions like they
Yes.
used to be. You
Yes.
graduated from Wheatley, Worthing,
Yes.
Yates, Jones.
That was saying
You
something.
could
That's
compete
right.
with
Anyone.
anybody.
That's right.
But
you
now they've been watered down, and then with all of this NES or whatever it is, just unbelievable. I know.
Talk about it.
But let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. I still keep my eye on the education
Absolutely.
piece.
Of
Just
course you
natural.
do.
I have a natural
Natural.
inclination.
Right.
And I read this about not being able to close your door and teach, which was supposed to be a way, I guess, that they could walk in and out on you all day and whatever. Which teachers are in the room teaching. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm gonna tell you, God works in mysterious
Yes.
ways.
Amen.
Yes.
And
Amen.
why did a fire inspector reach out to me and tell me that was a violation
Of the fire code.
for
fire
them
code.
to open those doors?
Right.
So I looked at it, I said, what are you
Yes.
talking about? So what I did,
Yeah.
I called the mayor.
Right.
Okay. I said, Mayor, this is the information I have from a certified fireman,
Right.
fire inspector. And he called Chief Pena.
Yeah. He's the fire inspector for NRG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He called Chief Pena, who
Right.
is the fire chief.
That's right.
And I mean, immediately the fire chief contacted
Right.
HISD and they started having these meetings.
That's right.
And just from a person trusting me with the information and me moving forward,
With that
changed that
information.
policy, because I wouldn't have known. I don't always have to be the smartest one in the room, but I
Exactly.
have to be smart enough to listen to those that have expertise in whatever area. And so
Yeah.
I was able to get that information to the mayor to the fire chief to the, and he was still pushing back at first.
Yeah, I
But
can
then,
imagine.
but now I think you can close the doors if they have a sprinkler system.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, you can open the doors
Open the-
if they have a sprinkler system.
yes.
Because they have a firewall or
Right.
something that if you leave those doors open, the fire can spread very rapidly.
Well,
And so
yeah.
that was a good thing. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I'm hearing so many things. People are getting fired on the spot for
Yes.
challenging what's going on.
Well, yeah.
Principals are getting removed because
Yes.
they've chosen not to do NES schools.
Yes.
This is I can't imagine the kind of power that the superintendent has. But guess what? There's no accountability because now your elected trustees were removed,
Right.
and they would at least have to deal with their
Right.
constituents
Right.
and serve them. Whereas now the board of managers, they don't have that.
Well, let me say this. Kim went down to one of the meetings, because there was a slate of meetings that were yeah, you know what I'm getting ready to say.
Mhm.
There was a slate of meetings that happened all the way up, I believe, until last week,
Right.
where you could go in and meet your school board and ask questions or raise concerns and get information. And she said, as her neighbor, she saw you down at the meeting, and she described to me something that I couldn't believe.
I was
Now,
there.
I don't want
and
to
I saw
say it. I want you to tell me
I
what
was
happened.
there and I saw it. It became total chaos. Total chaos. Nothing was accomplished in that meeting.
And no questions were answered.
No questions were answered. They started out talking. And then there was this group. Oh, they were really, really off the chain. They had cards and they stepped out they had a message on the card.
Right.
I can't even remember what it said, but one stepped out from the left side of the room. They stepped back. Somebody came from the back of the room. Eventually, it was total chaos.
Wow.
Total chaos. There was nothing accomplished at that meeting because people are very, very angry that you have taken over their school system. I mean, I understand the law and how it happened and whatever, but I do think that there could have been some discretion. But the people are very incensed.
And you would, if I'm a taxpayer and my tax dollars are going,
the biggest portion of your tax dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would be upset too because I'm paying
You are a taxpayer.
I am.
Yeah.
In
look
that
at, look at your check and see what part
no,
of
In that community.
in
right?
that community.
Absolutely.
So I can understand why the community is incensed because
Absolutely.
you're making decisions with my tax dollars that I don't approve
And
of.
you have no accountability
Exactly.
to me at all.
Exactly.
And that's a major problem. I mean,
Exactly.
you know, I'm on the childhood committee with the city of Houston.
Right.
So I still, you know, engage mostly with after school programs and things of that nature.
Right.
But seeing what's going on during the day is appalling for what our students are having to deal with. And teachers, they have to be angels. I mean, absolute angels. You know, I'm going to tell you, I had no intentions of going into education. Right?
Yeah. Me
None.
either.
Me
Me
either.
Because
either.
I saw
Me
my
neither.
mama and my daddy, and it
Me
wasn't
neither.
at
That's
all
right.
like it is now.
Me neither.
And then you want the truth? You want the ugly truth? Or, I mean,
I can take
pretty
the
lie.
ugly truth.
Okay.
I can take it.
I thought it was just going and being off in the summer.
Right.
That was a big deal for me. I could
Yes.
go and do my job, and in the summer I
Yeah.
could be footloose and fancy free.
free.
I didn't realize that is one of the hardest.
Yeah.
I say?
Yeah.
One of the hardest jobs that anybody can have.
Yeah.
Because you got to deal with all of these little personalities.
Yeah.
And especially, I taught middle school, right? Reading,
Us
writing.
too. Us too.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Where the
Yeah.
kids are,
History teacher.
the kids are caught up. I taught reading, writing, computer literacy. And we're not going to talk about them taking the libraries out. But, you know, it was just unbelievable to me, the things that people, you know, that the teachers are going through now.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then I'm gonna tell you, back in the day when I was teaching, we could paddle. All we needed was a witness. And you
Right.
couldn't go in and just, you know, beat somebody's child. to death.
Right.
But I got the feeling after a while that some of those kids like to get paddled. But I didn't have a lot of discipline problems. And I think it was the threat of it.
well, you know
Even
what?
though when it changed, it
Yeah.
changed when the white teachers came to the black schools and the black teachers went to the white schools,
And the black
and-
teachers were not paddling
and
their children.
the white parents did not want the black teachers to whoop their children, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was like, oh goodness, you know. And I don't believe in brutalizing. I believe in talking, as long as you can talk. But
Yeah.
after a time,
Certain,
if something
yeah.
has to happen. And so, you know, and I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but this library stuff, being a
Yes.
former English teacher
Yeah.
blew me away. I
Right.
was actually at the mayor's press conference
Right.
talking about that. It's just unbelievable. First of all, what message are you giving that you're sending students to the library for disciplinary measures? I mean, just that right there alone is poor messaging.
Let me throw this out here, and I had to explain this to my sister. She didn't even realize this, but until this year, Rebecca, at your school, I believe, and we don't call any school names, but I have not been at a school in the last 7 years where there was even a librarian on staff or a library.
See, that's a problem.
See, that's what
But
I
guess
mean.
what? What do they
Yes.
constantly talk about? The reading
Literacy.
levels.
That's right.
Literacy
That's right.
is so low.
That's right.
But you
And I think
you know, they say like when you go to church,
Yeah.
they say if you support the church, you'll see it in your checkbook.
Right.
They don't support.
well, and
Literacy.
here's I think here this is what they were saying, but then you've got to walk that back a few steps. They're saying that because so much information is gained through technology now, that we don't need libraries and books anymore. However, you need to teach children how to research even on technology.
I was
They need to know how
a
to
reading
read. Yes.
an English teacher.
Yes.
I cannot describe to you how my students reacted when Mrs. Margaret Hutchins, who was the librarian at Fleming Middle School, I taught in Fifth Ward.
Right.
When she would take them around that library and teach them,
Right.
you know, how to research,
Right.
you know, using the system to find your books. Now, I understand that now, you know, you can Google or whatever, but that is a lost art.
Yeah,
of
that's
being
right.
able to be able to navigate
Using
your way
that
through a
Dewey Decimal
library.
System.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then, you know, then you go through and you look at the different books and you're like, oh, I think I could be interested in that. She would give them books that
Exactly.
they would express an interest in, you know, whatever. And she would give it to them. You're not going to necessarily get that through technology.
Right.
You're not going to get that hands-on
And here
people
it is.
experience.
Even when you are researching, you still have to go to the library, especially when
That's
for
right.
for the ones that's, you know, that are going to college. You are still expected to go to the library, even in college, to do research.
That's right.
Well, do you know I'm sorry to disturb you, but
No,
I get so
That's okay.
passionate about this. But you even need to be on a 9th grade reading level to take a trade and to be successful.
Right.
You it's not like you don't have to know how to read. You know, you have manuals that you have to read.
Yeah.
And different things.
That's right.
But my first meeting with the superintendent was at Jack Yates High School.
Mhm.
And the first thing he told me was about the reading levels and this and that. I said, well, sir, I said, if you're concerned about that, are you concerned about the resources that you're
Right.
putting into these schools
Right.
that are helping our students? Because we are smart.
Right.
We are smart,
Right.
resourceful people.
Absolutely.
If you give us what we need to level the playing field,
Hello.
we will excel.
Equity.
Okay?
What is
We
that?
will
What is so hard about
excel.
that? Equity.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm again going to say this. When I graduated from Jack Yates High School,
Yes.
my class and the classes, you know, preceding me could compete with anybody. And the classes behind me too, up to a certain time. But you could compete with anybody.
You know what? I taught 2nd and 3rd grade briefly. That's how I knew elementary wasn't for me. Lord,
I know
Jesus.
that's right.
So I briefly taught 2nd and 3rd grade. One of the first questions I asked my classes, those couple of years that I taught, I asked them, I said, how many of your parents read to you at home? One child.
Mm-hmm.
And in my 2 years of doing it, 4 children total.
Yeah.
So, and it's not because the parents are not interested. You got parents that's working 3, 4, and 5 jobs. You got parents that's trying to make sure.
Don't be hitting on me.
You got parents that's trying to make
me
sure bills are paid. They trying to make sure food is on the table. They're trying to make sure they have enough just to make sure that their children are necessities and sustenances are met. So I'm
chopping at the bit.
So if there was a study done from Harvard University that says, well, if you don't read to your children from 0 to 6, you probably have lost them along the way as far as their reading skills, their phonics level, and all of that. So what about the parents who?
Wait a second. Now keep that in mind because we want to hit on something here.
See, here we go. You got 3 educators here.
Rebecca, while I'm doing this, take a look at some of these comments coming through. Council member Shabazz, you have made a conscious decision to stay in the community where you grew up. And we've all seen the central Houston area change dramatically within the past 15 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that it's possible to strike a balance between preserving the historic integrity of District D and embracing the diversity that's presenting itself real time?
I absolutely believe that you can strike a balance. Of course, recently there was a push to make parts of Third Ward a historic district, which was not accepted or acceptable to some of the people in the community. But the reason being is because there were some financial ramifications involved. If you wanted to do something with your house and you didn't do it in a certain manner,
that's right.
Then you would be
in violation.
But I think that we have a natural inclination to preserve. I
Right.
am so very honored that on tomorrow, actually, I'm going to the El Dorado Ballroom that has
Oh,
been
it's
restored.
beautiful.
And I'm
It's
telling you,
beautiful.
and I remember my parents used to go there and shake a tail
My
feather.
baby tells
Okay?
me about concerts that
Oh,
used to be
baby,
there.
they used to shake a tail feather. Then one of my cousins, Booker T. Caldwell, which is
Mhm.
Kirby John's dad, had a tailor shop there.
Right.
And so, I mean, it's beautiful. I was one of those people when they got ready to rebuild Jack Yates. I was not in favor. And the
Right.
deal is people look at new and they think,
Yeah.
oh, new is better. Where I look at the San Jacinto campus, which
Right.
is the HCC,
Right.
formerly San Jacinto High
Right.
School, that building is beautiful.
It is.
And what I wanted to do was make Jack Yates, because it was so big, I wanted them to restore it.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
also wanted them to make it a junior senior high school.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
way we would have had a feeder pattern that
Right.
was built
Right
in.
there. Right there.
If the students went to Jack Yates Junior High, like back in the way back in the day,
Right.
Yes.
and they did well, parents were not going to move their kids.
That's right.
But now we have kids being bused, which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get up at 5 o'clock in the
Right.
morning, so you tired when you get
Right.
there.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're tired? You act out.
Or you
Or
sleep in
sleep.
class.
You
Yeah.
sleep or you act out. And so this system really needs to change. But I'm trying to think, it was something you said. I was ready to jump in. Oh, I know what it is. And I'm going to say this. It's very, very important that people make a good minimum wage.
Yeah.
You know, when I first ran in 2019, they were pushing for $15 an hour, which, okay, yeah, but it's still not enough.
It's not.
Right.
And
Especially
now,
with inflation.
dealing with the unions or whatever, they're looking at $19 an hour. But the important part of that is if you can make a decent wage, you don't have to get 2 and 3 jobs.
Right.
Because
Right.
now, if you have to work 2 and 3 jobs, then who's keeping your kids?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and the time from 3 o'clock on till the parent gets home is a very crucial time.
Absolutely.
For
That's when
students.
trouble can
And
start.
so,
Yeah.
how important is it to see your parent come to your game or to see your parent come to your classroom? That's so important.
Right.
So our family structure depends on raising these minimum wages to where people don't have to have these 2 and 3 jobs. It's just, and you know, I understand that small businesses may not be able to, you know, pay maybe more than $19 an hour, but
Right.
you're making, some of these major companies are really
That's what I said. It's not
making
the
the
small
money.
businesses that's the
No,
problem. It's
it's
these
the-
corporations.
absolutely, and they are
That's the
making
problem.
what they making bank.
Right.
Yes.
They're making bank.
How
right?
do you make $21 million in a month?
And then you don't want to pay people an adequate minimum wage, and you don't want to give them health benefits. Another
Yeah,
thing,
that's true.
state of
That's
Texas,
true.
no Medicaid expansion.
Yeah.
Is that not ridiculous? Do you know how many uninsured people live in the state of Texas?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
we could talk for a while.
With that in mind, ladies, with that,
I know.
with-
Oh,
no,
goodness.
I know, but we want to hit it. So I would be remiss if I didn't look at some of these comments. We have Stacy who says, "I would like to see a partnership between these real estate developers getting a tax break to help build a Whole Foods in District D." Candace. Okay, Candace Joseph, the food people are talking about the food deserts. So District D finally was able to get the big new HEB in there. Are there any other things, or like Stacy says, on the horizon, maybe to bring other types of
Yeah.
other
Other food
places?
chains.
Yeah.
Well,
into-
you know, it's very hard to attract food chains when you have a lot of crime,
right.
and that's that's the truth.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I have somewhat of a solution that I am so excited about.
Mhm.
I actually am into getting a partnership with the Houston Food Bank, where we can
Okay.
have a satellite food bank in third
Oh, okay.
in the District
That's
D,
good.
the
Okay.
district of destination. And I participated in so many people coming through the line,
Right.
getting these boxes of food. You open those boxes, it's like, I ain't gonna eat that.
Right.
So you would throw a lot of food away.
And how much
Well-
peanut butter can you eat?
Oh
I mean,
God!
you know.
Well, peanut butter was something that people like.
Yeah.
But you might have something in there. It was like you don't even recognize what it
Lima
is.
beans,
And I
like the lima beans.
commend
Yeah.
the food bank. Don't
That's
get
right.
me wrong.
That's right.
They brought us through a tremendous
During that pandemic.
crisis.
That's right.
And you know,
That's
and
right.
if you're so
That's right.
inclined, maybe you need to donate to the food bank because they really have served this community well. But what I'm trying to do in this particular area in District D, this would allow people to actually go in and get their food. They could
Yes.
choose what they wanted
Right.
for free.
Yes.
For free.
Right.
They could, if they wanted ground beef, they go get their ground beef.
Right.
Well, you know, I'm sure we would have to put some limits or whatever, but certainly give them an opportunity because we have a transportation issue
Yes.
getting all the
All
way to the food bank. So
Right.
why not move the food bank to one of the most depressed areas in the city?
That's
And
right.
I've identified the building and working with a realtor to try to negotiate and looking for some partners because that's one of the real big things that I'd like to do in my next term if God is willing.
Well, let me ask you this. With that in mind, we have a comment. Lloyd says,
What
Addicts
Lloyd
Middle
is
School.
that?
Let's see what Lloyd says. Lloyd says, Addicts Middle School. I need some glasses. Lloyd says,
And
Addicts
I'm
Middle
literally
School
live, so I
didn't
can't
have
see
a
you.
library for 10 years and no one said a word. We didn't have a library for at least the 8 that I was at the school I came from.
I am so glad you said that.
Yeah.
I was one of the people that contributed to Addicts
Okay.
getting
Okay.
their library. Gary
Okay.
Monroe led the
Okay.
charge. Jolanda Jones was involved, and I was involved.
Okay.
So you are so absolutely correct, Lloyd. But I was there. I
Yeah.
gave financial contributions as well as some of my Jack Yates friends and people in
Right.
the community. We came and we heard the call of them not having the library books. Not only was
Yeah.
it Addicts, but it was also Yates.
How do schools
And it
lose
was Cullen.
libraries?
And it was Cullen.
How do they lose
Yates,
libraries?
Addicts, Cullen.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you lose librarians. And once you
Oh,
lose librarians,
wow. Yeah.
then, you know, in
yeah,
fact, I
yeah.
participated at Cullen Middle School with a tutorial through
Okay.
the NAACP Houston branch. I would go over there during the day and work with students for them to, and it was actually in the library, but there was nobody around in the library.
Right.
But
That's
it was
right.
Gary
That's
Monroe,
right.
God rest his soul,
Uh-huh.
that brought it to everybody's attention. It was Jolanda Jones. I
Right.
was there. I wasn't elected then, but I was there, I guess, being a part of the NAACP Houston branch.
Yes.
And then so, and we got our money together and put it in and donated for them to reestablish those 3 campuses with libraries.
Well, Arian McCary says we need quality grocery stores in our areas, and she's
We certainly
absolutely
do.
right.
I do
She's
not
absolutely
deny
right.
that.
Yeah.
Certainly, you know, in talking to a lot of them,
Yeah.
if we could get our crime under control, then
Woo,
and God
that's the age old question.
Oh my God. And I'm
How
gonna
in the
tell you, I'm
world?
one that I put in a lot of money from the Council District Service Funds to try to deal with crime. I put money into the Southeast, money
Yeah.
into the South Central, got ATVs, sound meters, call boxes, because they had a lot of stuff going on at the Columbia Tap.
Right.
And then we were going to install it over
Yeah.
at Sunnyside Park.
Right.
But more importantly, I don't just deal with throwing money at a problem.
Right.
I'm also engaged with a gang intervention program.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody knows
Getting
this
to the root
wonderful,
of the
wonderful
problem.
person, Reginald OG1 Gordon.
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
he is, you know, awesome. You know, the funny thing, he would always have this engagement every year.
Mhm.
And I would always make a donation, but he would put a mirror. No, he'd have a casket.
Okay.
And he'd let the kids, it would be at the funeral home.
Right.
And the
Wow.
kids would go by and he would talk to them about not ending up in the casket.
Right. Right.
I gave him the idea. I said, put a mirror in it.
Yeah.
I say, so that when they
Yeah.
go and they look down in that
They see
casket,
themselves.
They
Yes.
would see themselves.
Right.
And that was pretty effective. But what I did, there was a old Sunnyside Reed Road substation. And
Yeah,
it was
that's
right
by my
there.
parents' house.
Yeah, it was right there on Reed Road. And now it was closed.
Okay.
And so now
It's right by the
I
library.
engaged
Yeah.
with, yes, I engaged with Chief Fenner.
Right.
And Chief Fenner has allowed OG1 to actually, because it's important to have a stationary place.
Right.
So when you tell them that you're going to meet at 6:00 on a Wednesday, you don't have to wonder if the
You're gonna have
building is
somewhere
going
to
to be
meet.
there.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, we work through some kinks. And so they they open the building for him and the guys that are at
Right.
risk
Right.
or
Right.
former gang members to come because they need some intervention. Help them to move maybe into some trades or some things to help them to get their GEDs.
That's what I was getting ready to say. City councilman, I feel like one of the big issues we have with crime, when people don't have sufficient funds and they don't have jobs and they don't have opportunities,
Absolutely.
that's part of
The problem.
the problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like in Houston, because Houston is so big, 2,100 families move here a month.
Right.
And I feel like because that's been the issue, is that a lot of, and then on top of, which is another soapbox that we could probably all get on later on off camera, but when you are graduating children who are not prepared to fend for themselves, that's an issue.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So that's why I feel like the crime rate is so ridiculous.
Right.
Well, people that are gainfully employed are not sitting in your house cooking breakfast while you're at work.
That's
Right.
true.
They're
true.
not looking to hit you
That's
in the
right.
back of your head. So we have a responsibility to make sure our students either get a high school diploma or
Yeah.
a GED, and then give them these vocational aptitude tests to determine what their interests are.
That's
and
true.
then you can guide them to get to where they need to be. And if they like what they're doing. Oh, and by the way, Lloyd, I used to work at Addicts Middle School. I forgot to tell you that. I worked there for many years as well. I had that whole Sunnyside corridor. And so I'm really, really aware of what the challenges are in the area in Sunnyside as well as Third Ward.
Well, let me ask you this. There are some political and social pundits out there who argue that the degree in which the demographic of the city is changing, especially many in the communities within District D, that it's crucial to have representation that also reflects the growing Hispanic population. Do you think it's necessary to be a native Spanish speaker to represent the community effectively? And if not, have you met this challenge?
I do not think that you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of call myself a social worker kind of council member.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody has the same social needs. And so if you're meeting the needs of people, whether they know what you're saying or not,
Right.
then they know that you care about them and they know that you're going to provide. In fact, there was a lady that was in dire straits for her rent.
Okay.
That lady didn't speak English. But guess what? I was able to reach out to a friend who had a person who was willing to give money to people who needed the rental assistance.
Right.
She came. I don't know what she said, but I knew what tears meant.
Yes.
Right.
I knew she was very happy to receive that money.
Right.
And so, my friend Preston Middleton was working with a lot of families. Dr. Judith Craven.
Right.
She had money that she was willing to give. But I'm going to say love transcends language.
Absolutely.
But I do believe that you must communicate. So therefore, I do have someone that volunteers actually for me that has the ability to translate and transcribe and whatever, because I always want to engage everyone.
Absolutely.
And what's happening, people are thinking that because you're African American, you only care about African American.
Right.
They think if you live in Third Ward, you only care about Third Ward.
Oh, yeah.
And so I hear that all of the time. But the funny thing about it is, I have probably done more significant work, especially through Complete Communities, in the Sunnyside area.
Yes.
And I'm just telling you, that's where you live.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So to
Sunnyside.
me, it's about meeting the needs of Sagemont all the way to Midtown.
Right.
And we have a diverse population.
And becoming more and more diverse
Absolutely.
every day.
I can't say
Every
at
day.
some point, if the percentages go up, that I don't need a staff person. I might need a staff person.
Right.
May need to start transcribing, letting people know how to call in.
Okay.
And, but we kind of share resources around the horseshoe.
Right.
If I really, really needed somebody to come and interpret, then I could reach
someone.
out to somebody to come. If I can't put my hands on the two people that I know that could be very, very helpful.
Exactly. Now, Dr. Shabazz, if you could write a 3-statement summary, 3 short statements on your vision for the future of District D.
Well,
and why voters should entrust you with the future of their communities, what would those 3 key points be?
Well, I call District D the district of destination.
Okay.
But District D is also the district of education.
Yes.
We have the University of Houston. We have Texas Southern University. We have the Houston Community College.
Yes.
And so what I would like to see would be a thriving hub for education. Healthcare.
Yes. Oh,
technology.
absolutely.
We have the ION, right?
Mm-hmm.
And culture.
And the medical centers in your district.
And the medical center.
I forgot about that. My goodness.
And so
wow.
There are so
Not
many things and so many resources. I've used the ION on several occasions to engage the community to come in for deed restriction workshops. Those are the things that help us to preserve our historical piece.
Yeah.
That's what you asked about.
Yeah.
Filing the minimum lot size applications, which keeps people from coming in, developers coming in, putting 3 and 4 buildings. I had that same situation in my own neighborhood. Actually, somebody wanted to start putting townhouses on the corner of Sawyer.
That's right.
And Arbor. And we had our deed restrictions together. Fortunately, we had somebody that worked for the city in legal.
Yeah.
But I also believe that what's going to have to happen, we need to change our form. When people apply for these permits, they need to have civic leaders sign off because you are living in that community and you know what's going on. And if you see something come up, you can call and say, wait a minute, you need to pull this permit. You need to look at it.
Yeah.
That helps to preserve. But anyway, that's one of the things. And so I want to also have quality of life through sustainable development.
Right.
And, we talk about the affordable housing, which, before I understood affordable housing, I was like, what are you calling? That's not affordable when you put it that way. But once you realize that there are ways and means to get in these particular units, then you realize, because I think everybody should have quality living. That's
you should
again,
feel
I go
good
back
about
to
where you're going
children.
home to.
I go back to children. They need to be in a safe environment. And but I do realize that there are challenges as well. And the challenges are the taxes.
Yeah.
Especially and your tax, and you could tax the people out who, of course, the debt ratio determined that they could pay the note.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, until the legislature, that I'm working with legislative teams to try to work with doing something, you're going to create gentrification because people can't pay this.
That's right.
And what about the surrounding communities that are also impacted by that new structure?
That's right.
So we can't just get people in. I mean, it's great. And I'm a real estate broker.
Right.
And of course, I haven't sold anything in quite some time because I don't really have the time. But just to see the light in somebody's eyes, that they are able to move into their own space or into a really nice complex.
That's right.
That's so heartwarming to me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't want them to come back at the end of the month and say, end of the year and say, I can't stay here. I can't pay these taxes. But
what about the seniors in the community being able to stay in their homes?
I'm telling you, they need to look at all of that. I mean, seniors certainly get a cap.
Right.
At least they get some kind of benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
They're 65 too.
Yeah. But I'm talking about some of the younger families that are trying to build on their homes.
Yes.
When I bought my house, it was $58,000.
Yeah.
You can't imagine what I could get for my house
was
now.
just about that price when she
got hers. When I bought it, I was able to get it for that. And I guess maybe that was high then.
Yeah.
I was a school teacher.
Yeah.
Then on a school teacher salary.
Right.
But I can say God provided, and I was able to. I never was late on the house.
That's right.
My dad said he pays $17,500 for his house.
Oh my God. Well, that's what my parents paid. That's about what my parents paid. Whose home was right behind me.
Yeah.
Their home was right behind me. We
Yeah.
had backyard to backyard. In fact, we had a gate, and it was really good.
My daddy said
it was
his
really
house
good for
note,
shopping.
his
It was so good for
mortgage.
shopping. I could go over there.
My
I could
dad
go over there
said
and eat dinner.
his
Just go to the
mortgage was
backyard.
literally $97
Yes.
a month.
That's how much
Stop.
my first car. That's how much my first car note was.
Stop.
I had a Volkswagen convertible, baby.
I said,
And
Daddy, wait.
you can't get a $97 car note.
I
You cannot.
Now.
Daddy,
cannot.
$97.
90. Mine was actually 98. My first car note.
Wow.
Right.
Rebecca, Dr. Shabazz. Now, we could go on all day with this, but let me ask you this. If constituents or people who are living in District D would like to reach out to you and contact your office with concerns or with ideas, how would they go about doing so?
If it's city related,
Yes.
call my office.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell people this, and I really want to get this messaging out.
Yes.
We have such a huge problem with dumping and illegal dumping.
All
okay?
over the city.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I have one of the most successful hot teams in the city.
Mhm.
It's 4 men, 2 trucks, 2 trailers.
Okay.
On Mondays, they go around and they pick up tires. And you
Okay.
cannot imagine how many tires.
They probably got a full truck.
They get on Mondays,
Yeah.
right? Then the remainder of the week, they respond to 311 calls. But I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Calling 311 to me always felt like a black hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And because the city is engaged with the entire city.
Right.
So
right.
I said, wait a minute, I got to take ownership of this baby.
Yeah.
Of District D.
Right.
And so now we have what is called a 2-step process.
Okay.
And we ask people, and I hope your listeners, if they're in District D,
Right.
please know, call 311.
Okay.
And they're going to give you a service request number
Okay.
because it's for tracking and actually to know exactly where the problem is.
Right.
You can hold on and ask to be transferred to District D. Or
Didn't know that.
you
Wow.
can call 832-393-3001. And if you don't know the number, you can look on the City of Houston website.
Okay.
You call or you can email. And a good deal would
Excuse me.
also be to get the newsletter for District D.
Okay.
District D at HoustonTX.gov
Okay.
and send that, and you
Okay.
can get the newsletter.
Is there
for
a
District D.
website for District D?
Yeah, for District D is District D at HoustonTX.gov.
Okay.
It's an email.
Okay.
You send that to my staff, and they will, put you on the
Newsletter.
newsletter. And then certainly, if you have a SR number and you don't want to hold on
Yes.
to give it, then send it. And I really like the sending it to you people
Right.
because it's documented.
Exactly.
And can come back and say, council member,
Right.
I sent this to you and you didn't respond.
Right.
Now the District D email is manned by my staff. I
Okay.
do have my own email.
Okay.
And some people, send it there, but most of the time they'll relay it to me. So that to make sure that I get it. But I believe in documentation. I believe in being accountable.
Right.
And if you want to disturb me, you go from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, is to say that my staff did not respond.
Okay.
And I know human beings, there's some frailties and
Right.
things sometimes happen, but that shouldn't be something that I'm hearing on a regular basis.
Right.
And so okay. And then to get back to, first and foremost, why change horses in the middle of the stream? I mean, really, this horse is a workhorse.
Excuse me. I need to.
I'm not a show horse. I'm a
Yes.
workhorse.
Okay.
Okay. I have what Gary Monroe used to call receipts. I
Okay.
didn't leave the store and didn't pay the bill.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have things to show that what I have done.
Right.
And I just believe that people can certainly put their confidence in me. We did a lot, especially 2 years with the pandemic.
Right.
Okay. Oh, and one thing I want to tell people if they don't know, because I had a conversation today because I'm trying to keep it going.
Yeah.
There's a ride program some people don't know about. It's RYDE. It's an app that people can actually download and they can ride free in
Really?
Third Ward for free around.
Never heard of that.
I'm telling you,
Wow.
that's this word. But I put in money
Right.
to do this,
Yeah.
and I was actually partnered
Okay.
with a group that was able to get this electric vehicle. If you come to
Wow.
Third Ward, you'll see it. But now we're in jeopardy of not having the funding.
Okay.
And so what I did today, I actually had a meeting with Metro
Okay.
because I would love for Metro to pick up that particular
that's
engagement. It means people. We have had over 3,000 writers since Juneteenth,
wow.
and people see me. I was walking in the TSU parade.
Right.
Dr. Shabazz, I like that program. I like Ride.
Wow.
But you don't have to be a senior citizen.
Now, is it around a certain area?
It's like from the Gulf Freeway
Okay.
down to McGregor.
Okay.
And then it's like Alameda area over by University of Houston.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can get to HEB.
Right.
You can get to, University of Houston
Yes.
has a medical facility.
Yes.
They also have an optometry clinic that I
Right.
used to go to as a kid. And so we're looking to try to expand it. It was a pilot program, but it has been a phenomenal success rather. And so I actually committed that I'm going to put more money into it just to maybe transition it to Metro.
Okay.
Because in Dallas, they have DART.
Yes.
And they picked up the program.
That's awesome.
To be able, and if we have any people listening who want to contribute to keep this going, we would love some partnerships to come in.
Get in there and be
tremendous.
Be a catalyst in your own community.
Absolutely.
So well, now hang on one second.
So
okay, go ahead, Rebecca, because
no.
I know we're gonna have to close it out. I know.
That's what I was trying to say.
I know. And I so appreciate. Because sometimes people think you a certain way, and then maybe they can engage with you. I always kind of think if you know me, you love me. But, that's not realistic. But at the same time, I think I'm a very warm person. I'm very caring.
Right.
I always speak from counsel about things that are that impact people's personal lives.
That's right.
We do the
and that's
policy,
what it's all about. Yeah.
And we do the ordinances, and all those do impact people. They do that, but at the same time, I want people to know that there's a resource maybe to get your rent.
Someone just had a great, and this is Candace Joseph said something about how about a District D directory? That's neat. That's a neat thought.
I'm telling you, that's a great idea. Maybe could reach out to somebody like Southeast Management.
Oh, okay.
Or somebody like that, and they could put in resources of the different businesses that are in District D, and people could access them. And then sometimes maybe the businesses would pay into that.
Absolutely.
To advertise.
Absolutely.
So that would be a good thing.
So we're going to have to wrap up today.
Yes.
I'm not going. Don't let me go.
We're going to have to wrap up.
Listen, I'm going to have to pay extra because our producer is saying, wrap it up. But
I don't even see it. I see it. Okay.
Here's the thing. If you would like to reach out to Dr. Shabazz, we'll make sure that we get her contact information in the chat. And we have so many comments. I'm going to try to go in and address all the comments. And if she wants to go in and answer some of these comments, that's great. But Dr. Shabazz, yes.
One last thing. You could call my office if
Yes.
it's city related.
Mhm.
If it's campaign related, you need to go on my website.
Okay.
CarolynForHouston.com.
Okay.
Because I try not to mix the two.
Right.
I want to, have a level
Keep
playing
those
field for
separate. Yeah.
everybody and keep it separate.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Carolyn Shabazz, Rebecca, thank you guys so much for being here. And that's what it was about. I told you when you came on, I said, I want people to really kind of get to know who you are. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, as we always say, Rebecca, every week, we can do it. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
That was fabulous.